Losing someone you love at an early age, whether it be a parent, a guardian, or anything in between, can leave a remarkable scar on the person you're gonna be. And that is no more evident than in Peter Quill, who couldn't even accept his mother's last gift on her deathbed, and he couldn't even take her hand as she was about to die. Peter couldn't live with the fact that he was about to lose, in his mind, the only person he had. And when she was gone, he took off and he ran far out into a field where he was found by a group of thieves and pirates, a place where he could have an escape. That's right. Today we're finally talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and more specifically Peter. And holy shit, this movie came out in 2014. I feel old, and I'm not even that old. P.S. I'm gonna do videos on the other Guardians, but I really want this one to be about Peter Quill. Man, of course I've done more than 2 Peter videos in the span of a week. Whatever, let's get back to the actual video. Peter Quill grew up to be, well, just a smartass who would go out and thieve and steal and almost backstab anybody he could. He was in the middle of a job of stealing some sort of very valuable orb, and it went about as well as you can imagine. So Peter has to make quite the quick escape and get back to his ship, in which he can use to escape the people who are hunting him. And when he gets back on his ship, he kind of forgot that he had a passenger.
Hey, Barit. Look, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I forgot you're here.
And with the orb secured, Peter contacts Yondu to ask him where the cellar's at. Now, Yondu practically raised Peter in the group of the Ravengers and kept him safe somewhat as a kid. It was kind of almost like an abusive stepfather relationship, or at least that's how it's portrayed. And, well, of course, Peter, being who he is, decides to backstab Yondu and tries to go to the cellar directly. But when the cellar figures out what the orb is, he wants nothing to do with it. And Peter's pissed. And to make his day just slightly more worse, he thought he was about to score with another hot alien, and instead they all just want to get the orb. A woman named Gamora and 2 other fugitives named Groot and Rocket. They're all hunting Peter to get the orb back because Yondu knew he got double-crossed, and he sent out a hit order on Peter. And it doesn't end well for any of them. They all end up in police custody, of which Peter tries using his codename Star-Lord, and everybody just kind of laughs at him. He's just a big joke. But when he's brought to impounding, he finds somebody has taken his tape player that his mother had given him.
Those belong to impound that tape, and that player is mine! I've got a feeling, Blue Swede, 1973, that song belongs to me!
This is the only thing Peter has left of his mother, and so it's the most valuable thing to him as of current. And when he's in prison later, Peter's not a bad dude. He's willing to stick his neck out for other people and potentially save them, while also gaining another ally in Drax to form the full group of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And when they work to escape, as it turns out, Peter's record player was never impounded, and so he goes to retrieve it. This is the only thing he has. Peter is emotionally stunted. He has never grown out of the kid he was when he was picked up on Earth, and so this record player is worth sacrificing everything to him. And when Peter and the Guardians arrive at nowhere in order to sell the orb that they have, Peter has what is, I believe, his most emotionally mature moment in the entire movie. He's able to share his experiences with another person. He's able to sort of let go of all of the pain and trauma he's been caused. This is the first time we ever see him share this headset that he is so protective of. This is Peter letting somebody else in for potentially the first time in his entire life since he was a child. It's him learning to grow and to sort of accept other people back into his life, to let down his walls of fake idiocy and to truly try and get close to somebody that means something to him. But all good things kind of get cut short, as it turns out the orb that they have is an infinity stone. The collector wanted nothing to do with it as well, and that's when Ronan, the accuser, came coming. A man who works for Thanos as in search for these stones and wants to take them to his boss. And in the ensuing battle, Gamora's ship is blown up and she is left out in space. And Peter does, for the first time in the movie, something selfless. He was willing to give up his only way to live in the vacuum of space and give it to Gamora. And to ensure her safety, he was willing to call the Ravengers, whom he thought would kill him, in order to make sure she lived. And his gamble paid off. The Ravengers picked him up and surprisingly didn't kill him. But now Ronan has the Infinity Stone and he's going to kill all of Xandar. Yondu still wants the Infinity Stone, so Peter leverages it to his advantage and says that if they attack combined as a group and are able to convince Nova Corp to help save Xandar, then maybe, just maybe, he would be able to get Yondu the stone, pay back his debts, and walk out a free man with a new family. First, he has to rally the troops.
It has given us a chance.
To do what?
To give a shit. For once. Not run away. I, for one, am not going to stand by and watch as Ronan wipes out billions of innocent lives.
The first thing Peter goes to is his mother's music. Thankfully, Nova Corps was willing to listen to Peter and has decided to help them in the fight against Ronan as they try their best to sort of barricade their ships around Ronan's ship to keep him from crashing into the planet's surface. But not everything goes swimmingly, as the Guardians are inside of Ronan's ship trying to take him down. Groot ultimately decides to sacrifice himself in order to protect the group, because he truly believed he had found this sort of family. And Peter, inspired by Groot, sick and tired of running, decides to do what he does best and creates a distraction for the main big bad while Rocket creates a gun.
Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Now bring it down hard. Someday.
And this works perfectly. Rocket is able to shoot the Infinity Stone out of Ronan's hammer, and Peter reaches for it, knowing full well that holding the Infinity Stone could ultimately kill him. But Peter feels as though he's fighting for something far more than just himself. And even as he's being torn apart and torn to shreds, he is willing to hold on until he sees his mother's hand. One more time, she's reaching out to him, asking her to take his hand. In reality, it's Gamora. But for Peter, it's symbolizing his growth, his ability to finally move on from the moment that defined his early childhood and set his life on a far different path than his mother ever would have wanted. And in this moment, the Guardians of the Galaxy finally come together as a family, willing to share the burden of potential death if it means dying together and protecting other people. All this because Peter Quill was finally willing to make a sacrifice and to take a hand. And at the end of the day, the world was saved. Peter handed Yondu a troll and kept the Infinity Stone to give to Nova Corp. In the end, doing the right thing, not motivated by units, but motivated to protect other people. And he inspired change in an entire group of thieves and liars and scoundrels. And for the last scene of the movie, Peter is finally staring and reading the letter his mother had given him. A letter that he was given in the 80s, and that he was simply too afraid to open and too afraid to read. He's finally ready to accept his past and move on, and to become
My little Star-Lord. Love, Mom.
In this moment, I believe Peter Quill truly became Star-Lord, a hero and a guardian of the frickin' galaxy. Peter Quill is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, specifically the Guardians of the Galaxy live action movie, as he is wildly different in the comics. Far more stoic and far more of a Captain America-like archetype. Now, in modern day comics, he's far more like he is in this movie, but that is because of this movie. That's because of the writing and the direction James Gunn chose to go in. And I personally love it. I'm a sucker for these flawed heroes, these people who have real human issues, much like Spider-Man. And for me, this was definitely one of my favorite videos to make as of recent. I got to finally not read a ton of comic book issues for this, which felt great. And if you've watched all the way to the end, I would really appreciate a like or subscribe. And if you'd love to see these videos unedited and even up to a day early, you can support me on Patreon. If not, that's totally fine. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.